I'm super excited. We're on, I think, episode 12 of, let me see. Yes, episode 12 of the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. And today we have a really great guest. We're going to talk about how to be authentically you, and we are probably going to set the house on fire a little bit with some topics that a lot of people stay away from, which is things like religion and politics. My special guest today has no problems being authentically who he is, and is very open to sharing his politics as well as his religion, his faith. And I'm just really excited about talking about this concept, because if we don't get this right in social media, we are going to struggle. So not that everybody has to share their politics or their religion, but I'm just saying it can be a part of being authentic if you are comfortable with it. And my special guest today is absolutely very comfortable with himself and his viewpoints, and he puts himself out there in all ways. So I'm excited. You guys are going to love him. And I wanted to quickly say that this show is sponsored by easel.com. And if you have not checked them out, I highly encourage you to do so. One of the things that I love about Easel is they are a visual content creation tool. But the difference maker, or their unique value proposition, if you will, is their templates. They have a lot of amazing templates that are designed by professional graphic designers. So there's a lot of really great content already pre-designed, pre-designed. And all you have to do is put your logo on it if you want to, or download it and share it out onto social if you want to use it for social media or a variety of other things. So definitely check them out. Every week we do giveaways on the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. And today we have a couple of traditional things that we normally give away, but we're also going to do a couple of different things too. So as normal, I'm going to give away the little Marketing That Grows Your Business webcam cover. These are just to slip over your webcam so that nobody spies on you in this day and age. That's sometimes an issue. And then the ring light as well, the Marketing That Grows Your Business ring light. You slip it over the top of your phone, and it gives you an amazing light source for your phone. If you want to take a selfie or you shoot a video or whatever it is you want to do, it gives you a great light source. And we're also going to give away, choose 3 winners today for easel.com, a 3 months trial, fully loaded up account for 3 months. So 3 winners for easel.com. And our special guest today has wrote a ton of books. I forgot to ask. I want to say it's 12 or a lot of books. But his latest book is one of the ones that I wanted to pass on to you guys. So I'm going to pick one winner for Joel Comm's latest book. We're going to throw it up here on the screen so you guys can see it. It's The Fun Formula. It's How Curiosity, Risk-Taking, and Serendipity Can Revolutionize How You Work. It's a super fun book, and I would challenge you to, even if you don't win, to go check it out, because I think it really challenges the whole hustle theory. So yeah, I think it's an amazing book. And I also want to give away one of these, the Do Good Stuff t-shirts like I have on. I love this. I wear it all the time. I think the shirt itself is, the message on the shirt is such a good, powerful message. And so this is something, it's a brand that Joel Comm started, and I'm going to be giving away one of those t-shirts today. Now, how do you get these giveaways? How do you get them? So today, as always, when you get have an aha moment, I encourage you just to type in #aha in the little space below. Without saying all those things that we're not supposed to say, but you know where to put it, down in those areas down there where you can just type in the place, type in whatever you want to say. So your aha moments, if you can type those in, and randomly, I'm going to hit the ka-ching button which is also an invention of my special guest today. And we're going to randomly pick winners. So don't forget to drop in your aha moments, because that's how we're going to pick you. We got lots of giveaways, so you're going to want to win. So as you guys are coming in, where are you today and how in the world are you? I forgot to ask on the front side. Yes, Joel is a smart guy. Hey, Heather, it's so good to see you. So good to see you. And then we've got Terrell. Hey, Terrell, good to see you as well. I'm super excited you're here. All right. And then we got Christina. Hey, Christina. You look all relaxed. I love the photo there. It's like you're just chilling. And then Susie says, I have to check out Easel. Yes, I love Easel. And girl, your hair is amazing. Love that. Love it, love it. And then we've got Kelly from Sacramento, California. Welcome, Kelly. So glad you're here. All right. Well, so is everybody ready for our special guest today? So Barb says she's looking forward to this episode. Barb, I just want to say thank you. You show up almost every time I go live, and I'm so appreciative of you. All right. So who's ready for the special guest? Like I say, this is going to be a really interesting conversation. And I want to encourage you guys to drop in your questions. If you have questions, please, please, please drop them in. I do have some questions that I have for Joel, but I want you guys to feel like you're a part of this. And if you have questions, definitely drop them in and we'll try our best to get to them. All right. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Joel. I can't remember exactly when I met Joel, but Joel, very similar to me, has a long history on the internet. He started way back in the day, and he's a best-selling author. Like I said, I think he's wrote, like, I'll ask him when he comes on just to make sure, but I want to say it's 12 or so books. He's really stepped into the blockchain space. Oh, if you have blockchain questions, that might be, I don't know, it's not exactly where we're headed today, but he's definitely a genius when it comes to that. But he's also a keynote speaker, social media marketing strategist. He's, like me, one of the early adopters of live video. And he's been around for a long time, 2 decades of experience on the web, publishing. He's a very highly sought after influencer. And he has a fairly new, his latest project is co-hosting the Bad Crypto podcast. Like I said, he's really stepped into the cryptocurrency space. And he's my go-to resource for it. I'm on the edge of like, do I believe it to the degree that I absolutely would just swing that direction? I'm very close. I tell you, it's a fascinating space. So put your hands together. Welcome, Joel Comm.
Oh, he's not talking. Oh, wait. There we go.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And
I haven't pulled out a
gadgets.
flying monkey.
Yeah. He has cool gadgets like this, the ka-ching button.
This used to be, so probably about 10 or more years ago, 13 years ago now when I think about it, I have my office up in Northern Colorado and my team, you know how over the holidays, our peers will sometimes send us a box of candy or swag from their business, a t-shirt or whatever. And I like to stand out. I like to make sure that my swag is something that'll stick. And so I found these flying monkeys and we put a little Infomedia patch on the back and I sent them off as gifts to my peers. Back then it was the internet marketing space and people were just like, oh my gosh, this was the best thing ever. I mean, it's like a $4 little toy, but because it was so unique, my kids have got it. They're making me crazy. It's making the dog crazy. That's why I'm here to make people crazy.
Yolanda's puppy loved the monkey. Mine freaked out. She like went and hid under the couch. I mean, I am not kidding you.
Perfect.
She freaked out. She's like, what is that? None of my toys do that. So why is that happening? Yeah. So it's funny. They all have different reactions, but it definitely sticks in your mind. And just like Joel is
it's a slingshot. You know this, right? I mean, you put your finger. It's a slingshot. So I put my
No,
fingers
I
in
did
here
not
like
know
this.
that.
So what? Here, I'm going to step back, and you're going to see me in my full quarantined work at home gear.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're the best. I
That's
used
awesome.
to when I spoke, I used to fling them from the stage at some point into the audience. It was so fun.
That is super cool. So amazing how many of us OGers have cool show and tell toys, right? That's awesome. So cool. So I want to dig in just a little bit because I know you go back a minute. We both kind of started in the early days of the internet.
Yeah,
That's a
you
nice way
really
of saying
dated
it,
us both in that
right?
intro. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like Dorian Gray at the moment. My picture is just aging in front of my
Yeah.
face.
I know. Sometimes when I say, I owned an online business for 29 years now, it sounds ridiculous when I say it because I don't,
Yeah.
it's just gone by. It's like just been a blip. But
Hmm.
can you tell the viewers a little bit about your backstory? Don't forget the iFart app.
Of course, never forget the crowd pleaser of all. Well, I'm a former DJ and sales representative. Many years ago, I cut my teeth on Zig Ziglar's training. To this day, if anybody asks me who my mentor is or was, it's Zig. I sold encyclopedias. I sold emergency systems, door to door type stuff. I was a mobile DJ. That was my first business. I've been a radio DJ, a nightclub DJ. And I got into the online world actually when I was 16 years old. I bought, and this is totally, now you could do the math, okay? In 1980, I bought a TRS 80 Model 1 with 4K of RAM and a tape cassette player for a drive for a storage device. And I had a coupler modem. You dial your phone, pick up the phone, put it on the modem after it goes, and I was dialing into bulletin board services at 300 bits per second. So I've been in the online world for 40 years. I built my first website in 1995. It's going to turn 25 years in just a few months. Um, then that freaks me out
No,
that my
yeah,
oldest website is the same age that my daughter will be.
yeah.
And
It's
since
crazy.
then, I've done just about, everything I like to say that's not illegal, immoral, or fattening online. And that, goes from blogging to affiliate marketing, social media marketing, internet marketing, speaking, writing books. I've done 15 books, doing videos. I started back in 2006. Social media, I started back in the MySpace era. And live video marketing, podcasting, app development, software development, partnerships. I've played in a lot of different sandboxes. And as you said, now I'm in the podcasting realm in the cryptocurrency sandbox, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah. So I do have to ask a little bit about the iFart app because I know that is something that maybe a lot of people don't know about you. Now I know some have probably heard the story occasionally, but I think that and even some of the other early things like you sold, yes. So the iFart app, share that backstory
You want to
just a
start there?
tad bit. Yeah.
Okay. So this was in 2007, the iPhone came out, and I had one of the very first ones in the first couple weeks because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to change everything. And it was a year later that Steve Jobs said, let there be apps. And so my team that was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I had programmers and designers, people who without which I couldn't have accomplished, any of the things that I had done during that era. We put together an app called iVote that was an opinion app. It was one of the first 1,000 apps in the App Store. But after that, we got to thinking, what do we want to do next? And we gathered the team in the conference room and began whiteboarding all these ideas. And the one that made us laugh the most was this idea for a digital fart machine. And we were just cracking up. And I turned to my developer. I say, how long would it take for you to code this? He said 3 weeks. And I turned to my designer. I said, could you design this in the same? He's like, no problem, done. And so the app came out in December of 2008. And 12 days after its release, it exploded up the charts and went to number one in the world for all apps. and got me covered all over the news. I mean, all the tech publications, mainstream media publications. As you say, I got on Jon Stewart's Daily Show as a result of it. George Clooney, in his 12-page Rolling Stone article, said it was his favorite app. He has it on his phone. Lance Armstrong once tweeted that he had Robin Williams over for dinner and he was pranking him with it. It just became this pop culture phenomenon. And to this day, here we are 11 and a half years later. It still sells every day like clockwork. And a celebrity, Dana Delaney, do you remember her from China Beach?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
She
mm-hmm.
she was tweeting about it over April Fools, and I guess with her following and the retweets, it sent the app back up the charts again to number one in the entertainment category and number 14 of all apps in the world. There's a million apps, out there, I think, in the App Store. So it was just it's the gift that keeps giving, and
Well, I think the reason I really wanted to touch on it is if uh, a guy or a gal is totally comfortable with sharing their bodily functions, you got to get to the degree, you got to understand that they're totally authentic. Okay. Right. So that is, I think, one of the biggest struggles that I have seen when it comes to social media, Joel, is that people struggle to show up and be who they are. And sometimes, well, we'll get into that a little bit later, because you and I have had this conversation a couple of times. But when it came to you making this uh, transition, if you will, to showing up in social media, did you have a plan around it, or did you just like jump in? Right, right, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, there's never been a plan. The plan for me has always been I want to play with the cool toys. What looks like fun? Let me try. I mean, that's why I bought a computer when I was 16 years old. My mom said to me, "What are you going to do with the computer?" I'm like, "I don't know." I figured out really quickly that I don't want to be a programmer. That's just not in my DNA to code, but I can use this thing and I can explore and try things. And turns out I can see the world with it and have all this information at my fingertips. Well, everything that I've done, has been like, oh, let's play with this and see what happens. And more often than not, the things that I try fail, right? But I try enough different things that when I find something that works, I keep at it. And invariably, people then come to me and say, how did you do that? It's, I didn't set out to go, okay, I'm going to figure out Google AdSense. I'm going to make $1,000 a day with it. And then I'm going to write a book, and then I'm going to speak, and I'm going to have a New York Times bestseller. That was never the plan. The plan was, how do I make money with my website? I'm going to try this. That didn't work. I'm going to try this. That didn't work. Let me try this service. That didn't work. Oh, this AdSense thing seems cool. I'm going to keep trying that. Oh, I'm making more money. Let's play with it some more. Now that I figured this out, somebody comes to me and says, how'd you do that? And so I share with some friends how I did that. And then somebody says, you should write a book. Well, I didn't really think of that. Not that smart. So I wrote a book, and before you know it, boom. And
yeah.
that's the way that pretty much all of my, I never thought that a fart app would go to the top of the charts. I mean, I'm sure as a little boy, if you would have told me, hey, one day that thing you've been practicing in the bathtub, that's going to make you a lot of money, I would have been like, cool, I'm going to have a great life.
That's hilarious. Well, that's why I think it's so fascinating. I think that's such a powerful message, because I think a lot of people believe that they have to have it all figured out before they get out there. And very similar to you, I just like jumped in. Like, that's fascinating. That. How do I make that work? Sometimes you learn things along the way from others, and then I love, so Susie says, aha, no plan, have fun, make dollars. Yeah. It's a constant pivot. That's what I call it. So it's a constant, like, okay, that was part of that worked, but part of it didn't work. So how do I take what worked and you refine it? And I do that daily, like still to this day. I'm like, how do I shift? Like, okay, so what if that didn't work? I don't get hung up on the failures. I learn from them and I keep going. Sometimes, though, I will say I don't learn from the failures. I have to do them 3 or 4 times before I figure out that, oops, that was a
Yeah.
failure, and I just need to learn from that. So there's a lot of talk about finding your voice in social media. What's your take on that? Do you feel like that's I know when I first started in social media, I felt like I struggled with that, like trying to figure out what I said could say, what I should
Yeah.
say. What's your take on it?
Mm. I don't think one finds their voice. I think one is their voice, right? When you are willing to be who you are, then you don't, if you're on a hunt to find yourself, that's a different story. But when we're talking about showing up in social media, if you know who you are and the value you bring to the world, then be that. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not people overcomplicate this, and it's not complicated. It's you show up as who you are. You bring you. That's why when people meet you or I, after seeing us on, a live or after hearing us speak, I'm sure you've heard the same thing. You're the same on stage as you are off stage, and
All the time.
that's of course
Yeah.
because what do you expect? This isn't an act. This is who I am. I'm sharing my life with you. I'm sharing my knowledge. I want to inspire you to make you realize that, hey, if this clueless guy who, got a college education but was so busy smoking dope throughout college that he didn't learn anything, if he can play and experiment and be curious and take risks, so can I. And nobody's guaranteed anything, but I've always been really comfortable with that, going, I don't need to have the outcome that I think I'm going to have. I try things. In a week from now, Travis Wright, my co-host for Bad Crypto, and I are putting on a 1 week long massive virtual event. I mean, the scope of this thing is mind blowing. Never tried anything like this before. I've never seen anybody do anything to the scope we're doing. And I'm not married to the outcome. I want it to go great. I want it to be a huge success. But if it isn't, and I think it will be, I'm I'm not going to feel like a failure. I'm going to feel like, hey, we tried this and we gave this our best shot.
Yeah. And more than likely, there'll be a bump here and there, right? And some of those
Sure.
bumps, nobody will know but you guys. But I love that you said not to be tied to the outcome. It's tied to the process. Don't be emotionally invested in an outcome that you can't foresee. And Jill is saying, I agree. Finding your voice is about the courage to be who you really are or who you already are. I have this.
In fact,
When I'm
can I add to that, Kim?
yeah,
I hate to interrupt you, but I don't. You
no,
said so many
no, no.
things, like, and I lose my train of thought, and I want this train to push through right here. People are afraid to be who they are. And they're afraid because they think that others will judge them for who they are. Well, look, this is all you've got, right? This is me. This is all I've got. And I'm a middle-aged, overweight, smelly, hairy man. That's this is what I've got. And I've got what's up here and I've got what's in here. And I'm going to put that out there as real as I can. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody's going to like me. And I figured out probably about, I don't know, a dozen years ago that I think I was reading a news poll, and I don't remember who the president was at the time, but it doesn't matter because whoever the president is, half the people don't like him. And I'm thinking, if the president of the United States can't get half of the citizens of his country to like him, who am I to think I'm going to get everybody, to like me? It's just not going to happen. And so I'm not going to try to do that. I'm not going to try to please people because that's codependency, and that makes me inauthentic with who I am. So if you like what I say, you like what I do, you like who I am, great. Follow my stuff, engage with me. If you don't, okay, bye. That's great. Go find your vibe out there. I'm good with that. So people are scared to be who they are. And here's the thing. If, let's say, you're in a certain space, let's say you're in the health and fitness space, and well, here's what works because this fitness guru who's really popular says do this, and this one says do this. And I've got my thing that's my own thing that makes me a little different from what they say. And people are scared to put out that thing that nobody else is saying because they think, well, if nobody else is saying it, then maybe it's wrong. The truth of the matter is that thing that nobody else is saying is one of the things that makes you uniquely you. And you have to say that thing. You have to take that risk of rejection and put it out there. So to sum up, that thing that scares you the most, is probably the thing that can lead to your greatest success.
Yeah, I have often said that I teach a 5-star compass because I don't think social media starts with your business or your product or your service, which is where most people lead from. They think that social media's got to be their magic bullet. They're going to use it to sell a bunch of stuff. Nobody's going to buy from you if they don't know, like, and trust you. And they have you. So what you put out in the world is what attracts people to you, not your coaching or your book or your whatever. Those are all byproducts. But I've often shared a system that's like a 5-star compass. You've got to figure out what your 5 things that you're willing to die for, kind of thing. You know, your heels that you're willing to like stand on all day long. What drives what you do. And for some, it's those sticky subjects that that people say you can't share in social media, like that you're scared, to Joel's point, to share because they're going to put you in a hornet's nest, whether that's going to be religion or even politics in these days, right? So for me, faith is absolutely one of my heels that I'm willing to stand on all day long. It's a part of my core. I feel inauthentic if I don't share it. And so that's a part of, people are always asking me, well, why, how do you get away with sharing your religion? It's not so much my religion as my faith. I don't do it from a preachy standpoint, but I agree with you. I think people are scared to put themselves out there. So if that person is listening, what would you say to that person? If you've got a fear factor around something that's important to you, but you're afraid to put it out into the world.
Well, look, there's different reasons that people are on social media. And I don't ever want to say this is the way that you should do it. I don't like to should on people. If you're on social media purely because you're selling a product or service and you want it to appeal to as many people as possible, then you might want to weigh the cost of sharing something that's polarizing, right? Because there is a cost to it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not also benefit, because when you're polarizing, that means you can build stronger fans from those who agree with you. But you have to decide, why am I here in the first place, right? I'm not here to sell anything. I'm on social media to show up as myself. Very rarely do you see me, talk about a product or service. Usually it's a place for me to speak my mind, to share what I want to share. Here are my thoughts. It's kind of like, it's the social version of my blog. I post what I want to post, when I want to post it, how I want to post it, about what I want to post. And it's not to cater. Now, if you're on social to do business, then you have to count the cost. Are you willing to polarize to find your tribe? If you are, then that's okay too. But so I want to preface it. I'm not saying that everybody should go out there and say who they're voting for or where their faith is, or to give their their medical opinion on coronavirus, right? Because that's polarizing these days as well. So I think setting that stage is important.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I was going to share, is that you don't have to embrace some of these controversial subjects to stand out. You just have to be okay with what your core is. You as a person, what is your core, and are you okay with showing up and being that different voice, and that because that's your uniqueness. There's nothing new under the
Right.
sun except us, right?
There
So
was, there was a
it's
time, Kim. I've not always thought this way. We evolve and we change in our thinking.
yeah.
There was a time that I probably blogged about how you should never talk about religion and politics, but that was
Mhm.
from a business angle, right? It's like I have the same kind of take on cursing from the stage. I mean, I curse from time to time. I have friends that curse, and I'm not judging anybody for cursing. Uh, but I think that when you're on stage and you're speaking to an audience, you have to know that audience. And if there's people out there that you're trying to reach that are going to tune you out because you're using unnecessary foul language, I'm not saying, I think sometimes there is a season for that punctuated, bomb to go off, to really impact and put, power behind what you're saying. But I don't see a point in doing it regularly unless you're Gary Vee. It's just part of
Yeah.
his vernacular. I think some people do it to try to be cool, and that's not real either. Same thing with sharing your position on controversial subject matter. Isn't it interesting that faith, which I prefer that word to religion as well, faith is what provides us with a framework for why we're here. Whether you believe in something or you don't, it still provides a framework. And politics, it provides a framework for how we're going to operate in a society. The two most important things that we, really need to focus on. And because they're so important, they're polarizing, but we're not supposed to talk about those things. Shh, people
I
gotta be
know.
quiet.
hmm it's a fascinating dynamic, and again, just from a business perspective, you have to be okay with it because you can, I think, embrace either of those topics. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to be okay with the, you hate to say, the fallout, which means that you are going to attract certain people to you that believe the same way you do, and then you are going to repel people who don't believe the way you do, because the
Yes,
reality
and I
of it
do repel
is.
them.
Yes. So we're going to talk about some of your stories in just a moment. But the fact is that we have got to a place in our society where we cannot agree to disagree anymore, for all the great things that social media has done, and there has been some amazing things, and I think there will continue to be amazing things that social media does. But the one thing that is, I think, probably the most devastating thing that has happened to us as a culture is the fact that it's human nature, because when we walk into a place, a public setting, a party, or anything, we gravitate to those we know. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same in social media. People have gravitated to like-minded people, and that's can be positive. It can also be negative. And then you get into what I call, just pack mentality, where if you don't believe like I do, then that's away with you, kind of thing. And you've experienced a lot of that when you started sharing your political views in particular. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people are so fearful of that. But you lost, I know, some really good friendships that you thought were friends over a differing opinion. So can you share
Yeah.
maybe a couple of stories without, you don't have to name names, but
Yeah,
some
no,
of,
I wouldn't do that. I never
yeah.
do name names. I don't post about that because the way I see it is people who react emotionally to somebody believing or seeing things differently than they do. What you wouldn't believe the email. Well, you probably would believe the comments that I've gotten from people, the private messages, the emails, just calling me the worst, names you can come up with. And I'm like, this person has a problem. this this is a disturbed individual. And I've seen some crazy stuff. And I'm like, this isn't really a friend. Maybe this was an acquaintance. Maybe this was somebody who thought, wanted something from me. But real friends don't turn on you like that. Real friends will engage in a real dialogue. And at the very least, they won't disparage you for believing what you believe. They'll let you and they'll love you anyway for who you are. I've got friends on both sides of the aisle, and the ones that I disagree with doesn't mean I love them any less, but I respect them if they respect me. It, trying times are really revealing of people's emotional maturity. I think that, we put a lot of weight on IQ, our intelligence, our knowledge. But I think emotional intelligence, EQ, is way, way more important, how we manage our emotions. And if there's one thing that social media has done that I think is really negative for us, is it's created an environment that pushes our buttons, that really encourages us to react versus respond. Reacting is when we act out of our emotions and let our feelings instruct what we're going to do. And responding is when we are thoughtful and think, oh, let me let my emotions cool down. What is it that I really think? How can I communicate this in a way that is respectful and yet true, to what I believe? Those are two different things, and we have bred a really a world, not just our society, but a global atmosphere of encouraging keyboard warriorism, reacting. And I'm guilty sometimes, especially when it comes to Twitter. Facebook is what I use for the people that I really know in real life, but I've got 750,000 people following me on Twitter. I Those are not people that I know, and I am more likely to post whatever the heck I want, and sometimes react, sometimes snarky, because that's where I let that part of me go. But when I'm dealing with people that I have a relationship with, I treat things differently.
Yeah, such a great point. Such a great point. So I'm going to do the ka-ching button real quick. So we're going to choose a winner. All right, first winner. And so yeah, it looks like Joel is repping his side of the ka-ching button there too. So
Did I win?
for those, I don't know. Let's pick. We're going to pick. No, you can't win. But how do you not care about? Well, I know it's this one of those questions.
Ask
It's
the question, Kim. It's
multifaceted,
right there.
probably.
It's on the tip of
Okay,
your
so
tongue. Do it.
how do you not, as a human being, how do you not care about or get to a place where it eases the how heart sad you are when somebody attacks you for a belief system? How do you manage that? Because the reality is, we a lot of times we want to be liked by people. That's just a human
Yeah.
response. We don't want that negative aspect. So how do you deal with that?
Well, sometimes it hurts, right? Sometimes when
Yeah,
people are mean to you or they say horrible things about you, it hurts. But, I take a step back and I'm like, wow, what's going on here? What is happening with this person that this is how they react? Because it's never just about that surface reaction, right? As human beings, we've all got our own hopes, fears, dreams, desires, disappointments, pain, fear, loss. And when I see people react, I usually now I've seen it enough that I go to, wonder what's going on with them. I'm not going to be unkind to them in return. I never react back. I mean, there was one guy that I knew for years who I was always super kind to, gave my time, to him when he asked, and he wrote me a lengthy email telling me what a horrible person I am. And I wrote back and I said, rather than argue the points, because that's not going to get anywhere, as I said, I'm really sorry you feel that way. That was my response. And he responded back with, no, you're not. And I'm like, okay. Because he wanted to bait me. He wanted me to enter into an argument with him. And you don't get to bait me. You can throw it out there, but I can choose not to take it. I can, you can go ahead and start a fight in the mud, but I don't have to join you. I can have
yeah,
boundaries of my own. And maybe one day that person will come back and say, I was really a jerk. I've had that happen. I've had people come to me who I really respect when they say, you know what, I misread you. Or when this thing was happening, other people were saying some really bad things about you. And then they thought for themselves. They observed for themselves and they came to the conclusion, you know what, I think that somebody's been blowing smoke, at me, that this isn't true. You're all right. And that's great too. I'm like, well, I'm glad you feel that way. I don't need anybody's validation to tell me I'm okay. And neither do you.
well, and my husband has always had this saying that you can ring light winner, Susie, yay, one winner down, one winner up, whichever. So he's always said that if you get in the mud, how does he say it? If you got two pigs and rolling in the mud, the only thing that's going to come out on the other side is you're both going to get dirty, right? You're both going to get
Yep.
muddy. So if you jump in the mud hole with you're just going to get muddy too. So I've always taken the approach of taking the high road. We can't control what other people say, but we can control our reaction to it. To Joel's point,
Right.
is we don't have to defend ourselves. What I found fascinating a lot of times is in the social space that I don't have. If somebody takes something I say out of context, or I get attacked for some reason, I don't have to really defend myself. My community defends me, and or people that so it's not always about Again, you can't fight with somebody who wants to fight. It just never comes out on, you never come out on the top. So Barb said that certainly happened to me more than once. Kindness and forgiveness prevail. And you do have to look at it from the perspective of, it's not about you at all. It's all about them. They're coming at it from a place of emotion or hurt, or potentially even something crazy is going on in their world that has nothing whatsoever to do. You were just the trigger.
Right. And here's what you can do. This is when somebody gives me criticism, this is when you don't argue with that person who's throwing this mud at you. This is when you go back to somebody that loves you, that you trust, right? That knows who you really are, and say, somebody wrote this, or they said this, or they believe this about me. Is there any truth to that? Is there a blind spot? Am I missing something? Right? If you're willing to be honest, that means you have to be honest with yourself. And hopefully you've got people around you that will be honest with you, not because they want something, not because they're trying to manipulate you, but because they actually care about you. And so when criticism comes your way, there's nothing wrong with taking that and going to somebody that cares about you and saying, is there any truth to this? Do I have a blind spot? Is there something I need to know? Because that's how I grow.
Yeah. And I also think there's times when you just hit a brick wall with people. You just can't go any further. They're not changing their mind and you're not changing yours. And you just got to be okay with that, right? I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
As long as you are, I think there's a boundary too there for us, is that we have to really love the people up that might believe or think differently than we do. And as long as we do the right thing, hopefully, and there will be some that will be, there's still people out there that can't agree to disagree. It's just not as common as it has been, perhaps, is one way I would suggest that could go. So when it comes to live video, I want to circle back to that real quick, because when it comes to being authentically you, I think live video is one of the best ways to do it. And you and I both jumped into like Periscope, and even I think you were on
Meerkat.
what was the one? Yes, Meerkat. I couldn't think of Meerkat for a second. I think you started on Meerkat, and then we made the transit. I was never on Meerkat. I started on Periscope, but jumping into live video in the early days was so impactful for me, and I would say for you as well. So from an authenticity standpoint and just showing up and being you, what's your take on live video for folks that might not have embraced it yet?
Well, I still think it's the most social form of social media, right? This is the closest we can get to being in person. And, there's so much that's lost from body language, right? And facial expressions that you don't get when you're posting on Twitter, when you're making a tweet or making a post on Facebook. But here you hear my words as they're coming from me. You see, my facial expressions, and you see the body language. It's a great way to have a conversation. It's a great way to reach your audience and show them who you really are and tell them what you really think and share the value that you want to bring to their lives.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think live video, honestly, is one of the most, and maybe arguably even the easiest, if you can embrace it and be okay with putting yourself out there, is the fastest path to really building relationships, aligning yourself with people that, you hate to say, believe the way you do or feel or attracted to your vibe. It's not about believing the way you do. It's because I don't, that is definitely not what the message I want to impart. It's about attracting the people that are attracted to you, to your vibe. Like Joel said earlier, we're not everybody's cup of tea, and we have to be okay with that. We're not here to serve everybody. We're not here to please everybody. We're only here to serve those that we're meant to serve, and we can't get hung up on that. Even I think on a business perspective, of thinking that everybody's our ideal person. They're not. They're just not. And how you show up and put yourself out there is ultimately how you're going to attract the right people to you. And live video is one of those ways. So do you ever go into conversations, though, going back to like the whole concept of social and having these awkward, if you will, conversations sometimes? And because I think a lot of times we put things out in social media and we have the assumption that people are going to are going to see it from our perspective. So when you put something out now, you pretty much know that that's not the case, right? Like
Oh,
sometimes
of
you're
course
like,
not.
yeah. So like
Yeah,
I've really gotten a lot of hoots out of your latest post where they are very polarizing. but
I'm not
but in
trying
a
to be
fun
polarizing. It's not
no, but in a
intentional.
it's but for me, I think it's in such a humorous and if people can't see that, even if they don't agree with you, I just find that it's just crazy. I really feel like you have shown up in so many authentically genuine um, ways that around things that you truly truly care about, and heck with the way other. I mean, if they don't agree with you, you're totally cool with that. And
I
so,
am.
but
I guarantee
yeah,
you that people have unfollowed me. I mean, some people will unfriend, right? And those aren't really friends in the first place. So I've unfriended people. I'm like, how do I even know you? And there was one guy a few weeks ago who might have even been right about what he was saying, but it felt like he was such a troll on my threads. I'm like, why are you even in my life? You're just being bleh. I don't want that in my circle. And so I unfriended him. But usually people will unfollow you. I unfollow people that I get tired of seeing things that disturb me. But I would totally go, have a drink with that person and sit down with them and have a conversation. It doesn't even have to be about that topic. It's like you are not defined by this one topic or this one belief, and I'm a Christian by faith, but I have friends that are all over the map. I have friends that lead towards, Eastern mysticism. I have a really, really just like I consider him a brother, dear friend who's an atheist. I'm Jewish by blood. I have Jewish family. I have Muslim friends, and politically, I'm more libertarian. I have friends who are conservatives or Republicans. I have friends who are Democrats or liberal. I have friends who are libertarians, and people who can be respectful can understand that others look at the world differently, that my way is not the only way. I'm just, I'm like everybody else. I'm experimenting through this life. I'm still figuring things out. I don't think now like I thought 10 years ago, or definitely not 20 years ago. I'm a work in progress. And so is life on this earth, right? It's constantly evolving and changing. And we have to develop, new thoughts and conclusions based on what's happening in the world. And so this, social media gives us a complete snapshot of this is where we are here and now. And if you don't want to follow my stuff, fine, don't follow it. If you're a friend of mine, can we still, talk from time to time? Can I still know what's going on in your life? Can I still be your friend?
yeah, I love that. We're gonna do another winner.
By the way,
Um,
can I talk about these for just a moment?
yes, yes.
So I've been making these since 2011 when my book Kaching came out, and they've been manufactured in China. They sell on Amazon, and I'm not making any more. I think China has done us so wrong by lying to us about the virus, and it's hurt the whole world that I'm no longer manufacturing them. So there's about 200 that are left on Amazon, and when they're gone, that's it. If somebody else, is making something similar, you can get it from them. But if you go to kachingbutton.com or just go to Amazon, look them up. When they're done, I am putting an end to 9 years of manufacturing the Kaching button.
So they'll become collector's items, guys.
Yeah.
So, uh, Bebe, I always say it incorrectly. Are you both saying
Maybe.
to express your political, faith-oriented views on causes, even if they're unpopular and alienate people? I'm confused, as you two haven't expressed yours. I'm genuinely curious. I go back and forth about the topic of it myself. So I'll share my quick perspective on this. I have shared my faith on social media for years. I don't talk about politics for the most part. I am of the opinion. I'm firmly, probably. I don't know whether you call me one or the other or whatever, but I feel like I'm in the middle of the spectrum. I like and that's one thing I want to talk to you about, Joel, when we answer this question, is the fact that I feel like that both sides, whether you call it one side or the other, I'll just say both is a loose term when it comes to the politics of things these days. We're so politically divided right now, and I think there is a lot of misinformation on both sides of the fence, and so I'm a big believer in thinking and finding my own answers around things. And so I guess I would say there's probably truth in both sides of the fence. You have to figure it out. I don't normally talk about politics on social media. But I'm very, very open to everybody's viewpoints when it comes to religion, faith, or politics. I may not believe the way you do, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to unfriend you for it. Now, when it comes to social media, the one thing that I cannot tolerate, and I will not tolerate in my life because it drags me down, is hate. When I see hate spewed on social media, or hey, if you believe this, then you just need to unfriend me, I take them at their word, because that is a
Bye.
perspective that I think has no place in my life. I'll just be
It's
very
a red
honest about
flag.
that.
It's a
Yes.
toxic red flag, actually. It's what it is.
Yes.
If you see somebody post, if you don't agree with this, then you need to unfriend me. They're really revealing more about who they are than
Yeah.
who you are if you disagree with them. Now,
Yeah.
I could say, if you don't like it, feel free to leave. But I'm not showing you the door, right? You're also
You
free to
have to walk
stay.
through
I'll
the
only
door.
show you the
Yeah.
door if you're a jerk to me, to other people on my feed, or if I just don't like the way you're behaving. I mean, it's my feed. I don't. Why should I have to come to my feed and feel bad because somebody's being nasty? It's not a free
So,
speech issue, by the way. People are like, "You're so pro free speech." Like, yeah, that means the government can't infringe upon what you say. Doesn't mean that you can come into my virtual home on my blog or on my videos or on my posts on Mark Zuckerberg's site and abuse me or say whatever you want. That's not what free speech is.
yeah. Well, I think, to answer your question just very succinctly, as it depends on you. I think that you have to decide whether you're okay with putting yourself out there. And you have to also be willing to accept the fallout for it, or the blessing. I think it goes both ways. I think there's blessing. So for me, as a part of sharing my faith, it has been an absolute blessing, because one, people reach out to me like all the time and say, I can't believe you share your faith, and they gravitate to me because of that. Now, and it's not just faith-based people. It's people I have, to your point, I have friends who are not believers at all, or believe other things, other religions. That's the whole premise behind my entire being is I'm accepting of other viewpoints and other. I don't want to force anybody to believe something that I believe just because I believe it. As long as you're okay and you with me believing what I believe, I'm totally cool with you believing what you believe. And
Right.
so from that perspective, I guess the short answer is you just got to be okay with, if it's important to you, and it's one of your I call them five pillars, that you're willing to stand on that hill and plant your flag, then absolutely share it. If you're
I
not,
don't know what your five pillars are, Kim. I should know this, but mine are bacon, pizza, cheeseburgers, French fries, and pancakes.
mine are not food related, but maybe they should be. Especially, I don't know about you, but I feel like everybody's on vacation but me. Like, like it's like life has pretty much gone on the same way because I work from home. But,
Right.
there's like all these people are like, I'm so bored. I'm so this. I'm like, yeah, I feel like everybody's on vacation but me. So, Um,
Do something. What a great opportunity. If you can't go to work and you're done working at home for the day for whatever you're supposed to do, for whatever your job is, create something. Do something. I mean,
yes.
it's almost a forced opportunity to create and to do something that you've dreamt of creating for some time.
Yes,
So
yes,
I don't
yes.
know if I'm
That's
like
a
you. For
teaching
me,
moment
this
too.
hasn't this hasn't been all that different. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
here anyway. When I'm not traveling and on the road doing what I do, I'm here, hunkered in my place anyhow, doing what I do.
Yes, definitely. I just think that, for those of you who do have a business, which are most of you that are watching, you just have to balance it. I think the key to it, though, is understanding that people are attracted to, to life and as a whole. And sometimes that is our personal viewpoints. Sometimes it is our lives, our, whether it's faith or politics or controversial viewpoints. Those can be polarizing, but they can also be attraction based too. So it's both ways. And if you have not, okay, t-shirt winner is Mike Koala. Woohoo! I love it. Glad you won, Mike. You know
Which,
Mike,
by
don't
the
you?
way, Kim, my friend Dan Nickerson, who's worked with me for years, I asked him if he could update dogoodstuff.com, and the site should now be updated, and it should redirect order links to
All
Teespring.
right.
Yes, it does. So anybody can go and buy. There's a lot of different styles of shirts. There's short sleeve, long sleeve. There's baby doll shirts, for the women. There's tank tops, and you can get different colors and sizes. And I haven't made those available for a very long time, but because you are rocking the shirt, and I found one
And they
pink
have
shirt
pink,
left in the
ladies.
inventory here. One
So
shirt left, and this is going to you, Kim.
I am so excited. I am going to have a pink one. I wear this thing all the time, by the way. So I've got my Do Good Stuff
Oh,
t-shirt on. But if somebody, and I just go ahead and drop in all the extra winners. I know we have a few others, so if we can just drop those in. But while we're picking the last of the winners, Joel, for those who that loved your vibe today, where can they find out more about you?
My blog is at joelcomm.com, and all my books have my name on it. And anywhere on the socials, it's the same. I'm at Joel Comm. So you just look for the verified profiles on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and you'll know those are me, because there's a lot of copycats out there. I deal with it every day. So look for the check mark.
Yeah. And I know I've seen you post several times, especially on Facebook, around the copycatters, where except they don't have the good vibe, the glasses, all the cool things that are just uniquely you. So what do you guys think? Is Joel uniquely him? So Mike says next, oh nice, I'll wear it on our next walk. Yes, let's do it, Mike. We got to get together. I haven't forgotten you. Even though it may seem that I haven't. So, this is my first time here, and it's refreshing to hear others with a similar perspective, to allow others to think what they think without needing to bring harm or disgrace to others. Oh, bacon, yum. Yes. I'm glad you're here,
The
Kelly.
Bacon Tribe. Yay.
Yes. So, webcam cover, Allison Davis. So, real quick, congrats, Allison. My oldest son is on his way home today, so he's coming home. And then Barb won Joel's book. All right, Barb, you're going to love it. Uh, and he is, both of my boys are bacon fanatics. So I literally make 3 pounds of bacon at a time. And it's like,
Wow.
it flies off the plate as quick as I can pull it out of the fry pan.
Do you
So
do
Kelly
the
says,
thick,
"Show for
thick
authenticity."
cut bacon?
Yes,
Do you
the
do the
thick
thick?
cut.
So
Yes.
when you say the pan, do you cook it on your stove?
Yes.
So
And
I
the
learned the
reason I do
secret.
that is okay. So the reason I do that, I tried some other ways. My son says it does not taste the same as it all that grease popping around frying the bacon up. I don't know if it's
So
true,
I
but
started. I got a pan that's about, I don't know, a third of an inch deep, and I put it in the oven and put it on like 425, and it comes out just as good as in the frying pan without
Mm,
that mess, because then you could take that pan and drop it into a jar with all the grease, and the cleanup is
yeah.
easier. Cleanup around the stove is easier. I just made some the other day. It was so good.
Yum. Yeah, we eat a lot of bacon, probably more than we need to. But he's so excited because he's been not been home for a while. And I've already got 3 pounds of bacon laid out for breakfast in the morning.
I'm coming over. I'm coming for
Yeah,
bacon. From
I'll send you a
Tampa.
picture in the morning.
Yes.
But come on, if you can get on the plane, you can probably catch a
All
flight, no
right.
worries. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your wonderfulness with us. I hope that everybody got some great value. And more importantly, I hope what you take away from this is that you can be uniquely you. You don't have to be, don't have to put a lid on what you are. Easel winner, Kelly. I'm so excited for you, Kelly. You're going to love easel.com. But I do hope that you guys can see that you can be uniquely who you are. In fact, I would encourage you to figure out if there are places where you're not showing up authentically, then start trying. Put yourself out there. Try one or two things and see what happens. And I bet you that if you do that and you show up in a personal way, it doesn't have to be a polarizing way. It can just be sharing something personal that people will gravitate to that way more than they will something that is pure business focused. That's my challenge to you, is to step out and share some personal things about yourself, because I bet you anything people will resonate with that way more than anything else that you put on social. All right. Well, thank you guys for being with us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves and God bless. Thank you, Joel.
And do good stuff. Do good stuff. Do
Good
it.
stuff. Yes. Do good stuff.